In the 12th century, the Holy Land of the Middle East was one of the most dangerous and unstable places on the planet. After the First Crusade, European knights captured Jerusalem and established a Christian kingdom here. This kingdom was constantly on red alert because they were surrounded on all sides by Islamic powers wanting to reclaim the land. To survive, Jerusalem always needed a strong king, a brilliant military leader to command the army. Amidst a backdrop where the royal court had to continuously reinforce border defenses against the rise of surrounding Muslim principalities. In 1161, King Amalric I welcomed the birth of Prince Baldwin IV, establishing a legitimate heir to the throne. Baldwin grew up as a perfect royal child, intelligent, possessing a great memory, and very skilled at horseback riding. However, the prince's tutor, the famous historian William of Tyre, began to notice something highly unusual about the boy. Sir, do you notice anything unusual about the prince? Like what? He looks perfectly fine to me. What the hell? Hey, are you okay, my son? I don't feel any pain, father. What? See, I told you there was something unusual. Then what on earth is wrong with my son? From what I can gather, the prince has leprosy, sir. And catching this disease in this era, well, only God can save him. What? For years later, in 1174, the king passed away from a severe illness. Baldwin IV officially ascended the throne of Jerusalem at just 13 years old. According to the laws of that era, a person with leprosy was seen as cursed by God. They had to give up all power and live completely isolated from society. But since Jerusalem was in such a perilous position, the court had no other heirs and was forced to keep him on the throne. Your Majesty, Saladin's army is at the border, but church law mandates that lepers must be isolated. Oh, so I should just go into isolation and let you run the kingdom for me then? Sire, I wouldn't dare. Exactly. Do you have a spare head lying around that I don't know about? You idiot. Sorry, sir. As time passed, the horrific disease began to brutally ravage the young king's body. With his face now visibly disfigured, the iconic image of the king in the silver mask was born. Whoa! The appearance of a disabled teenage king instantly turned the court of Jerusalem into a chessboard of factional plots. They began forming factions, dividing power, and looking for ways to manipulate the kingdom right in front of his face. Sir, they literally don't take you seriously at all. Here, I think this fits your vibe better. What? Get out! They completely underestimated the young king until a court meeting where Baldwin decided to draw the line. Look at him, weak as a masked zombie. I bet he doesn't even know. We're dividing his kingdom right under his nose. Exactly. Should I start printing the invitations for his funeral party? Count me in. I bet he won't even survive this winter. This winter, look at him. I bet he won't even last the week. Yeah. All right. I am a leper, not deaf. Now, apart from the newly deceased fellow, is there anyone else who wants to divide the land? No, sir. Good. And just like that, with a highly convincing argument, King Baldwin IV officially restored order to his court. But the peaceful times did not last long. In 1177, the greatest threat in the kingdom's history emerged. The great Sultan Saladin led a massive army of 26,000 elite warriors to march on Jerusalem. Meanwhile, King Baldwin IV was only 16 years old. His muscles so ravaged by the disease that one arm was completely paralyzed, and he couldn't even mount a horse on his own. Damn! He could only hastily gather fewer than 500 Templar knights and a few thousand militia to march out and face the enemy. Today, we do not retreat. For Jerusalem, for the king, for Jerusalem. Looking at this horrific disparity in numbers, Saladin was 100% confident he would win. He overconfidently assumed the disabled teenage king wouldn't dare leave the city, so he allowed his massive army to scatter everywhere to forage and rest along the way. Meanwhile, at Mount Gizzard, about 30 miles west of Jerusalem, Saladin was chilling out, blissfully unaware of the absolute disaster about to hit him. My lord, scouts report that the teenage king of Jerusalem actually marching right toward us. What? That sick little kid. He can't even get on a horse by himself. What makes him think he can challenge me? But sir, they brought the true cross and their entire Templar cavalry. Let them come. Tell our raiding parties to keep foraging. Yes, sir. But Saladin had just made the biggest mistake of his military career. King Baldwin IV was not hiding in the city at all. He had himself tied securely to his horse, led a lightning march around the rear, and ambushed them right at the hill of Mont Gisard. Your Majesty, Saladin's men are scattering across the valley to loot. They're completely exposed. Perfect, they're getting sloppy because they think we won't dare step outside. So, should we go down there and kindly give them a heads up that we're about to attack? Form up immediately. We're blitzing straight into Saladin's tent. Yes, sir. The Iron Cavalry of Jerusalem charged down like a whirlwind, striking directly into the command center before the Muslim army could even form their lines. Alright, one last hand and I'm out. I need to get ready for that Leper King. Relax and deal the cards. That kid can barely even stay on a horse. Who's he gonna hurt? Yeah. Huh, good point. Sir, we have a problem. Big problem. What are you panicking for? You're ruining my vibe. The Leper King. Who did you say can't ride a horse? What? No prisoners. Wipe them out. Yes, sir. Sir, our lines are broken. Silver Mask is leading his cavalry straight to your tent. What? Didn't you say he was just a dying kid stuck in bed? I was wrong. He's faster than the Grim Reaper. What? Run now. The Battle of Mont Gisard ended in an unbelievable climax. Saladin's army of 26,000 men was completely wiped out, most were decimated, and the rest were captured. Hey man, where are you taking us? Is this a field trip? Yeah. A free VIP tour of Jerusalem. Free food, free housing? Yeah. And outdoor cardio for the rest of your lives. That doesn't sound like much of a vacation? Shut up and get in the wagon. Yeah, sir. The great Sultan himself, who had been so arrogant just hours prior, had to abandon everything. He fled for his life back to Egypt on a baggage camel, braving the freezing desert just to survive. This is all your fault. If it wasn't for you, we wouldn't be running for our lives like a bunch of losers. Wait, my fault. I literally warned you, but you chose to underestimate him. Shut up. Rule number 1, the boss is always right. Yeah, absolutely brilliant, boss. Now, watch out for that sandstorm. While Saladin was struggling to survive in the desert, the rest of the world was looking at Jerusalem in absolute shock. Because at just 16 years old, the Leper King pulled off one of the most shocking victories in medieval history, shattering all doubts and cementing his status among the greatest military legends. The victory at Mont Gisard bought Jerusalem a few years of peace, but it could not cure Baldwin IV of his brutal disease. By the age of 20, leprosy had horribly ravaged his body. He was completely blind, his limbs were necrotic, and he could no longer move on his own. Yet, every time Saladin marched his troops to harass the border, Baldwin IV would demand his soldiers place him a litter and carry him to the battlefield to command his men. Just catching a glimpse of the Leper King's silver mask in the distance was enough to make Saladin's Muslim army retreat out of sheer respect and caution. Hey, look over there. Is it just me, or does that look familiar? Oh shit, that's the Leper King. Did you forget how he wiped the floor with us last time? Well, perfect. Today is our chance for some sweet payback. Yeah, are you guys out of your minds? You rookies don't know jack about him. New order, abort mission, retreat now. Hey. Oh shit, run now! And those would be the final glorious days of the Leper King. In 1185, at just 24 years old, Baldwin IV drew his last breath, ending a decade of carrying an entire kingdom on his shattered shoulders. The passing of Baldwin IV was the ultimate death sentence for Jerusalem. Right after the Iron King was laid to rest, the elites and nobles immediately returned to their selfish plots, infighting and squabbling over the throne. They lacked Baldwin's capability, nor did they command the enemy's respect. Just 2 years later, they plunged the kingdom into disaster and lost Jerusalem to Saladin. You two, leave us. Right away, boss. Rest in peace, brother. You were the greatest king I ever faced. Hey, Mr. Saladin, can we just pay a cash ransom and go back to Europe now? How does a legendary king end up with a bunch of absolute clowns?